you're not going to be riding your bike for a while, it's a good idea to put it on charge so that the battery doesn't go flat. But a lot of us park our bikes on the street or maybe in the garden where there's nowhere to plug in a mains powered charger. Oxford have solved this with the Oxford Solariser. It's a solar panel battery charger and I've had it for about 6 months, so I'll take it out of the box, I'll show you what it comes with and I'll give you some of my thoughts. So when you open up the box you get something that looks a little bit like this. You've got the unit itself and then you've got 3 different attachment options. The first are these crocodile clips. They're pretty useful for if you take the battery out of the bike. You've also got one of these 12-volt accessory plugs, which is cool if you have one of those fitted on your bike too. And the third option is currently connected to my bike. It's the ring connectors that go directly to the battery, and I'll put a picture of what that looks like. You also get 4 of these suction cups if you want to put the unit maybe up against the glass or something. The charger has this blue LED here, and you might not be able to see it very clearly, but if it's flashing it means that it's charging, so even with the limited light that's coming into my room at the minute, this is still getting enough power to charge the battery. There's a few things that I don't like so much about the charger, and the biggest one for me is that it's not waterproof, it's just weather resistant, and for something that's clearly designed to be used outside, I think that's a pretty big oversight. I'm quite lucky that I have an Oxford cover, and it has a clear panel in the front that you can slide this into, so that keeps it nice and dry. But if you don't have an Oxford cover, you'll have to put it in some kind of box or plastic bag, or maybe put it on the inside of a pane of glass or something. But all of that is going to reduce the amount of sunlight that this gets, because it works best with direct sunlight. The connectors also aren't waterproof as far as I can tell, but it does come with this piece of plastic that you can kind of screw down to keep some of the water out. But I would have liked something with some rubber or something a bit more waterproof. I also don't like that this doesn't use the SAE type connection that a lot of heated gear uses and that things like the Optimate chargers use. Because if you already have a connection for your heated vest or something, you can't plug your charger in through the same port and you have to have loads of wires hanging out your bike. So I think that's a bit annoying. And as far as I could tell, I couldn't really find any good adapters to go from this to some other connections, so it would be nice to have something that's a bit more standardised. So those are all the things that I don't like so much about the Solariser, but what I like about it is that it works, and it works really well. Over the summer I couldn't ride for 2 months because of an injury, so I had this plugged in pretty much the whole time. And on a nice dry day I took it out of the pouch in the cover and I just left it out so we could get some direct sunlight. After 2 months, my battery was completely fine, I've had no issues with it since, so it definitely kept it topped up. Recently, we've had a lot of snow and ice and just generally bad weather, so again, I hadn't ridden for about 3 weeks, but I had this plugged in. I had it inside the cover this time, and obviously when the bike is covered in snow or when the cover is frosted over, it's not going to get much sunlight. So every now and then I went out, I cleared the snow off the cover, and I just checked that the blue LED was flashing so I knew it was charging. And again, after 3 weeks of freezing temperatures, I went back outside once it warmed up, I turned the bike on, it started first time with no problems, and I've had no issues since. If I wasn't riding all winter and I was going to leave this plugged in for months, I would trust it. I would just go out every now and then and check that it's still flashing and that it's still charging. But it's safe to leave this plugged in all the time, which is perfect. I think I paid around £30 for this charger, which is pretty cheap. If you're looking at something like the Optimate chargers or the Oxford Optimizer, they're going to cost a lot more, probably around £50 to £70. But they'll also do more things, so they'll be able to charge batteries that are dead, they'll perform charge cycles and keep your battery healthy. This won't do any of that, this will just keep things topped up. But for £30, and it's obviously free to run since it uses solar power, it's really good value, and it's a pretty cheap way to keep your battery topped up. If you have access to a mains outlet, like if you park your bike in a garage or something, I would recommend getting one of the mains chargers because they'll do more things and they'll be a little bit more reliable. In bad weather, if it's overcast or something, you don't have to worry about sunlight. But if you don't have mains access, this is perfect, and especially if you have an Oxford cover, this works really well and I'd really recommend it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about the Oxford Solariser, and in the meantime, safe riding, and I'll see you guys in the next one.